Welcome to Nothing Finer. I'm your host, Rick Beach, along with Austin Island. Austin, I talked to the people at the 76.com. We had a pretty good week with the promo code FINER.
Yeah.
Sales were up a little bit. It's looking good. Appreciate everybody helping out with that. So
Good.
if you didn't hear it last week, the 76.com, letters, not the numbers, put promo code FINER, 10% off all your Georgia gear. And so hopefully we can keep that going. Other than that, Friday, start of camp at Georgia. We had the Kirby Smart press conference Friday. Showed yet again, when he gets in that podium, he's just in his element. First thing he said was, talking season's over. It's time to do more. Ties into what he was saying at media days. So, Austin, how excited are you? Excited was a word he used 10 to 15 times. So, I'm going to say, how excited are you about camp starting?
Yeah, he said it a lot, and definitely excited. Just glad to get some real valuable practice moving forward, and excited to see, a lot of these defensive position battles is really what I'm most interested to see.
Yeah, the havoc.
Yeah.
I want to see these havoc positions, outside linebacker, defensive tackle, some of these
I want to see
guys.
if the freshmen can get in, and, just a lot of interesting stuff on the defensive side. Offense, we know we're going to have about 7 guys on O-line that's going to rotate, and we'll have a couple of running backs. So, we know what we got. But defense is wide open for anybody. So
yeah, and you're in that transition period when NCAA rules, you got the transition period, so they're just helmets over the weekend. I think yesterday they got shoulder pads. So we heard Kirby say my favorite word in fall camp, thudding. He says Zamir White's going to be thudding.
Yeah.
They'll go to the ground. They'll tackle to the ground. This coming up Saturday at the first scrimmage. So football season is coming. Saturday is going to be 3 weeks away. So it's coming quick. The excitement level through the roof. I ain't been this excited about Georgia football in a while.
Yep.
Hopefully it'll be our third straight really good year. We said it for a while, natty or bust in 2019. But looking into the future, Georgia had big news last week. Number 2 running back in the country, Kendall Milton, committed to Georgia. Had a pretty cool video.
Yeah,
he dropped out. But number 2 running back in the country. What'd you think about that?
Just excited, man. Know it's something that's probably been in the bag for a while, because it seems like Kendall's been pretty open with his recruitment, and he's talked with a lot of the UGA beat writers and media a lot. So, I was just real excited, and now I'm, the typical Georgia fan I am, I pivot to see, who's coming now,
who's next,
and who can he get.
And when I say number 2 in the country, I will say that I use the 24/7. That's what I go by. So anytime I talk team rankings on here or player rankings, it's going to be by what 247 says.
Well, that's the industry standard at this point.
It used to be Rivals. It seemed like 247's taking over. But Kendall Milton, a great player. I think he got his first offer in the 8th grade. So this has been expected. But like you were saying, who's next? Georgia fans, the difference with Kirby being there, we get the number 2 running back in the country, and our attention immediately goes
to the number 1.
We want the number 1 running back in the country now, Zach Evans. It looked like a long shot just 1-2 months ago.
Yeah.
But in the last couple of weeks, it looks like Georgia's really gained some ground on. It looked like Alabama was in the bag for Zach Evans.
Yeah.
Now it looks like Georgia could be a legitimate shot at having Zach Evans and Kendall Milton on the same team.
Yeah, well, I think it was in the bag for Alabama for a while, but then I think his in-state schools kind of got in there, A&M and Texas, and I think they kind of mixed it up to where he was willing to take a step back and look at everything.
Right.
And so him getting into contact with Kendall Milton has obviously probably been huge. They've both talked about wanting to play with another star back, which that all makes sense because, like DeAndre Swift and Holyfield ended up going to the league even though he was the number 2 back, and they see that, Sony and Chubb, and, this is something you can do at Georgia is have 2 star running backs, and that way y'all both can take the load off of each other.
You're not going to tote it 30, 35 times. You're going to tote it 15, 17 times a game.
So you're able to preserve your pro career before you even start it, really, because you can lighten the load on yourself.
Right, and that the Kendall Milton commitment moves Georgia to number 5. Now, player average, we're a little bit higher, so a couple more commits, we'll shoot into the top 3. I have no issue in saying that we'll be a top 3 worst-case scenario at the end of the recruiting. Out of the top 11 players, Georgia's in the 5 of them. Yeah. We're in the final 3, final 4 players. In the past, you think out of 5 of the 11, if we get 1 or 2. But looking at the list, Jordan Birch, we've moved up on him. It looked like a Clemson lock. We're moving in on him. Mm-hmm. Zach Evans, we talked about. Keely Ringo, I think he's going to come down to Georgia and Texas for that. He's a 6'2 corner, can fly, one of the fastest player at the 24/7 camp. Eric Gilbert, he looks like a lock for Georgia, big 6'7 tight end. And then you got Darnell Washington, who's probably an Alabama commitment, but we could slide in and get him out of Las Vegas. And Justin Flo was the number 3 linebacker out of California. He dropped his top 4.
Yeah, we were in it.
And Georgia's in there.
Yeah.
So you're looking, and now we can be greedy as Georgia fans go, we can get 3 or 4 of them 5, and that'll shoot us up there.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you'd have no problem in saying the same thing. You feel confident that we'll get some of them guys.
Yeah, I feel great, and I want other Georgia fans to feel the way I do, as to where, stop worrying about some guy from Hogansville that you want on the team, or some guy from there, that Kirby's just going to go out and get the collection of the best guys he can get, and I'm all for it, man. That's a winner's mentality. Yeah. And that's what I love to see. We go out and we get whatever we want and just take it.
Iron sharpens iron.
Exactly.
We showed that in the past. It started with pretty much his second year in 2017 when he brought in some guys. And, I look at Eric Gilbert. We're talking about the big tight end. And you look at the tight end position moving forward and how big that could be. Charlie Warner and Eli Wolf are going to be playing this year. Looking at Charlie Warner's stats from last season, or from his career, he's had 25 catches, almost 300 yards, but he's never had a touchdown at UGA. It's hard to believe.
Oh, that'll change.
Yeah, and then you look at Eli Wolf, who had 5 catches last season with 1 touchdown. Mm-hmm. So the production's not there in a passing game. Then we got 3 freshmen, redshirt freshmen, 2 true freshmen, but they're all highly recruited, all highly coveted. So you could bring in a Eric Gilbert, a big body. And the guys coming up, we got, I think it's a Fitzpatrick 6'6", that Godet is 6'6", then Britt Seether 6'5". So you got 3 big bodies coming in the future, but going into this season with Eli Wolf and Charlie Warner, I think we're going to get a lot of production, even more than what Isaac Nada provided last season. And for whatever reason, he never materialized to what all of us fans expected out of IMG. Yeah. But I expect Charlie Warner to finally have that breakout season. We saw him play DB in high school and wide out. So I think him coming at tight end, bigger, faster, stronger, and I expect him to have a big season.
Oh, yeah. Agree.
What do you think about Eli Wolf? What do you think about the move of him saying, I'm going to graduate transfer down to Georgia? I mean, does that show you think he's thinking he's going to come to Georgia to win the chip? Or do you think he's just trying to get some?
I think he knows that, he's seen that they got Isaac Nada in the league, I'm sure. I'm sure he looks at stuff like that. I mean, I'm sure he wants to go to the next level.
Right.
So I think he thinks Kirby can help him do that, and definitely going to win a lot more games in Athens than he was in Knoxville. So.
And you're going to get more. No, you're going to be on TV, more national TV. Right. You're going to be on the news. You're going to be covered more nationally. Yeah. And you look at Eli Wolf, maybe he talked to Coley, and maybe Coley's going to use the tight end. We saw him in Miami. We talked about that before on his usage of the tight end. And I'm thinking we're going to use the tight end more this year in the passing game, but we know we're going to need them in the blocking game. And I think these big bodies we got coming up, Fitzpatrick, Godet, and Seether, they're going to get bigger. So next season, we're going to be even better at tight end. But this year, we don't have the names maybe that you would expect the Georgia to have, or the high draft picks that people project us to have. But we're going to have people that get their nose in there, make the blocks, and free us up. So I think tight ends are going to be a position, maybe not say it's a strength of the team, but it's not going to be a weak link. It's not going to be the thing that's going to hamper us from moving forward. And the big thing, Charlie Warner staying healthy. We saw 2017 postseason, he got hurt against Oklahoma. Had to sit out in the Natty. What role that plays, not saying, it costs us anything, but it's just needing to stay healthy for the whole season and maybe get these younger guys to stay back in redshirt and get bigger, faster, stronger. And that's what you want out of these guys.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. Well, looking at that, another thing that's big, a position, quarterback, Georgia's really, we know we got a starter. We got a guy. We got a number 1, QB1. But behind that, you look at Stetson Bennett and DeJuan Mathis. What are you thinking we're going to have out of a Stetson Bennett? How do you see their roles, Stetson Bennett and DeJuan Mathis, playing out this season?
Well, we know DeJuan Mathis just had the brain cyst removed, so I think, I'm not too privy on brain surgery, so I don't really know the timetable for a recovery for something like that. But for now, I'd say Stetson Bennett will be the backup. And, this is kind of crazy to say, but if there's a position that we could afford to lose, it probably would be Jake Fromm, because Jake Fromm is a dynamic weapon.
Right.
But if he goes down, then we could still be dynamic in other ways. We don't need Stetson Bennett to be some kind of gunslinger, what I'm saying? Because we got plenty of team speed. We got a great run game. So it could be a crutch. But to me, I think Stetson Bennett does bring some good qualities, especially from what you've heard from all his teammates.
Right.
About he's a pretty athletic guy. He simulated Baker Mayfield in practice and, got him prepared for the Rose Bowl. And I think he's an experienced guy. And, I wouldn't be a whole heck of a lot worried if he was the guy,
No, my thing, Stetson Bennett, he transferred out of Georgia, went to Jones County Community College.
Mm-hmm.
He had 16 touchdowns, 14 picks, wasn't highly recruited. But there's a reason Kirby went after him. And for Kirby Smart, he's not going after a guy just because he knows he's going to commit.
Right.
There's something about Stetson Bennett I think is going to be his heart. I think he's just a hard worker, and he knows it's going to rub off. And then DeJuan Mathis, that's 6'6". He's got track speed. I think if there is God forbid if something happened to Jake Fromm, but you're looking at a quarterback in DeJuan Mathis, I think he would be a long-term replacement.
Yeah.
I think if Fromm gets like a twisted ankle and has to come out for the rest of the game, I think that would be the role Stetson Bennett could come in, knows the playbook.
Definitely.
He could slide in and take over a short. If Jake Fromm's hurt, you'd see Stetson Bennett. If there's an injury, we don't want that to happen to Fromm. But if an injury happens, it's going to be a long period.
Yeah.
It's a DeJuan Mathis, and it's pretty good this year. We don't have a quarterback controversy. First time in years we haven't had a quarterback controversy. But however, we know next season Carson Beck coming in, 4-star out of Jacksonville.
Yeah.
There's going to be a quarterback controversy next year with DeJuan Mathis and Carson Beck, and you can throw Stetson Bennett in there.
What if Fromm stays? I mean, there won't be a controversy.
Yeah,
then,
if Fromm stays, but I don't see Fromm staying. Now,
I don't either.
It'd be really cool if he did, and it'd be awesome for him too.
Yeah.
And I really believe the quarterback position is a position you benefit from that fourth year.
Yeah.
You look at all the great NFL quarterbacks, they're 4-year guys.
Yeah.
You look at the ones that aren't so great, they're just all talent. Look at Matt Stafford.
Yeah.
We ain't got to go far. Look at Matt Stafford. He's maybe another year would have helped him at Georgia. Another year of learning the system, reading defenses, getting ready for the league. And I just feel a quarterback does need that. But the money they're throwing at these guys nowadays.
Yeah, you can't.
And Jake Fromm's
going to be projected first 10 picks. You can't turn away from that.
And Fromm's going to be a first-round pick.
Yeah.
He's going to be projected as an early pick.
Yeah.
And that's just too much money to say no to.
He might end up being the first quarterback taken.
Yeah, and you can't say no to that because what if you do come out and I know they got these insurance policies and stuff, but if you get hurt, then you're sitting there holding the rope.
Yeah.
So you got to think he's going to come out. My belief he's going to come out. I think everybody thinks he's going to come out. But I think for this season at backup, I think we're in good hands with DeJuan Mathis being a long-term. Yeah. We'll see him in 4 games. New redshirt rule works out great.
Yeah, I like the skill set of DeJuan Mathis. I think it's good to have around. It's a good, he's obviously not built like a Justin Fields, but he's an athletic guy, good top-end speed.
Right, and he's raw.
And they say that he's got a good little arm on him, too. So.
And he's coming out of Michigan. He's a little raw. He hadn't seen the high school talent that, say, Justin Fields saw in high school. But he's got the ability. He's got the skill set. And he's a track star, so you got to thank him at quarterback and the way college football is going nowadays with the spread offenses and RPOs.
He could be kind of like a Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, he kind of gives you that. He's going to get bigger. He's 6'6", 205 out of high school, so he's going to get thicker.
Yeah.
Just, being in that college weight room.
About 10 pounds.
He'll get 10, and by next season he'll get 15, 20 pounds heavier. So, I'm really excited about the backup position at Georgia as far as, hopefully we don't need to see it in that. I hope it's all blowouts.
Yeah.
So, I'm excited about that. What'd you see on the internet this weekend, Austin?
Well, I've seen a few people, more than a few people, but some media people and some, just some speculation of 3 teams in the 3 SEC teams in the playoff. What do you think about that?
I don't see how you could do that.
Well, let me lay out a scenario.
So you lay out the scenario. We'll see if it's legit or not.
All right. Let's say LSU goes 12-0 to Atlanta, beats Alabama. Alabama's sitting at home 11-1. Georgia runs the table 12-0 to Atlanta. Georgia beats LSU, so now you got LSU, Bama sitting at 11-1. Georgia sitting at 12-0, SEC champion.
Right.
How do you really think?
But you'll have LSU wins the head-to-head against Alabama.
Yeah, but do you think the committee will still leave Bama out with only 1 loss to LSU?
I'm thinking it's finally starting to set in. There's going to be Bama fatigue.
Yeah.
And I think fans are already having it, but I think the media is getting it.
Yeah.
I know a couple of years ago in the Sugar Bowl in 2018 playoff, we had Clemson and Alabama play, and the ratings wasn't as high as they were, probably hoping for. And I think they're going to watch the national championship no matter who's in it because people love college football.
Yeah.
But I think as far as people just tired of Bama being just given situations.
Right.
And we've seen it twice in the last 10 years where they've been allowed to go into the playoffs.
Well, 2017, they got
BCS championship.
They got thrown a bone in 2017.
2011, they played LSU for the national championship. That wasn't right for LSU to win the SEC.
Yeah, then
have to go beat somebody they've already beat to win the national championship. So I do think there is some Bama fatigue, and we know that fan bases have it. But I'm starting to think the media and the playoff committee is going to have a Bama fatigue, and there's no way they could shut out another conference. You get 3 SEC. Which conferences you're keeping? You're only letting you guys say Clemson because their schedule is super weak.
Yes,
and you're looking at that. I don't see anybody beating Clemson.
Yeah, but let me throw another scenario. Let's say Bama goes undefeated and Georgia goes undefeated,
right?
And LSU sitting at home 11-1, and then Bama comes in and barely gets one over on us again.
Right.
Do you think who's sitting at home then? Will LSU sit at home, or will we sit at home, or will they put all 3 in?
I think they'd take one, either us or LSU, depending on how the game goes. If it's another heartbreaker like the last 2 times we played Alabama, you got to think we'd slide in.
But you're predicating this on other teams and other conferences doing what they're supposed to do.
Now, what if you got the ACC champion?
What if Clemson does drop a game to?
But what if you got 3 conference champions that are undefeated?
Well, yeah, I mean that's going to be a lot.
Washington and Clemson are all 12-0.
That'll be the easiest selection they've ever made. Yeah,
that's what the playoff committee wants to happen, but that never seems to happen.
No,
like Ohio State last year dropping a game to Purdue.
Ohio State will drop a game again.
I think they're going to lose multiple games.
They'll drop multiple. Yeah, that's something else I want to talk to you about. What do you think about this Ryan Day blowing smoke about Fields and Gunnar Hoak?
I don't see how Gunnar Hoak, he transferred from Kentucky.
Yeah.
I don't see how he's legitimately competing for that job. And if he is, that speaks volumes as far as Justin Fields.
He's not. Well, I just watched his presser the other day after Ohio State practice.
Right.
And they was asking Gunnar Hoak what made him want to come here, and he didn't say nothing about competing. You know what he was talking about? I just love the tradition of Ohio State, so that just let me know right then that he knows he's not getting that job.
I think Ryan Day's just making it to have Justin Fields maybe pushing a little more, which I don't think the kid should need any pushing because he left Georgia.
Yeah, apparently he's self-motivated, right?
Yeah, I guess, he's not. He don't want competition. He wouldn't have come to Ohio State if he knew there was competition to get that job. Yeah. So I don't think it would happen. Now, I'm interested to see his play against big-name teams.
Yeah.
Because I know he's going to put up crazy stats against Indiana.
He's going to have awesome Maryland numbers, man.
Yeah, he's going to have these numbers that look a lot different because he's going to be playing lesser talent. And he is going to be better than he was last year, just natural growth as a player. But I don't see him being this, for him and Fromm to have the same Heisman odds.
Yeah.
That's just
when you're playing when you're Justin Fields and you're playing in the Big Ten. On some Saturdays you're the best player on the field.
Right.
When you're playing in the SEC, he wasn't the best player on the field. He wasn't.
On his team, or
if you put him on the field with Dylan Moses from Alabama, Justin Fields ain't the best player on the field. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But in and out every week, Indiana and all these teams.
Yeah.
He'll be the best player on the field. Period.
Right. And at Georgia, it seemed like he always thought every play had to be a big play.
Yeah.
He had that.
He was trying to do too much. He wanted the job so bad that he was willing to, sacrifice the integrity of what we was trying to do.
Yeah, and that's what he wanted, to make these big plays, to get the highlights, get all this, get all this credit. When that's not what, especially Georgia's playbook is not made for that.
Yeah,
it's going to be 3 or 4 yards on the ground, grind it out. Fourth quarter, after that offensive lineman laying on you for 3 quarters, then we just break it loose. That's why a lot of times you see games.
Well, it's been the same thing since David Green was here. Run, predicated on the play action. You know what I'm saying? And that's just how it is.
That's crazy how you got to think. We've had from Mark Richt when he was calling plays in the Bobo. We'll take 2015 out because that was just horrible play calling.
That was awful.
That we've never seen and never wanted to see.
Awful quarterbacking, awful play calling.
You go into when Chaney comes in. We've ran the same. It's crazy to think the schools ran the same.
Well, it's changed as far as formations, but the concepts seem to stay the same.
Yeah, Bobo put us in shotgun more.
Yeah.
Bobo kind of spread us out a little more. But we still ran power run game out of the shotgun.
Yeah.
Towards the end of Bobo's era, we ran more pistol.
Yeah, nice zone scheme.
Yeah, and that was fun to see. I loved Bobo as an offensive. I thought he was a great play caller. I thought a lot of him, and I would love to have seen him be able to come back if anything was to happen at Colorado State.
Yeah. I think he'll be back one day.
I think so. I don't think he'd be the head coach. I
Yeah.
think Kirby's got that on lock for a little while at Georgia.
I think Bobo, he'll be back eventually.
And we know him and Kirby's relationship.
Yeah.
When they grew up together, both their dads being high school coaches.
Sorry, Rick. I think if Will Muschamp was to, something was to happen to him in South Carolina, I could see Kirby bringing him to Athens too.
Right. I think Muschamp's
an
a great
all-star assistant.
If he came to Georgia, you got to think he's less in the spotlight as defense coordinator at Georgia because he's not allowed to do interviews. He's not. All the Georgia rules have for the defensive coordinator and the assistant coaches.
Yeah.
It takes him out of that spotlight a little bit.
Yeah.
And for somebody like Coach Muschamp, it's less opportunity for him to say something silly.
Right.
And it's less opportunity for him to just make a butt out of the whole university, which we've seen it when he was at Auburn as defensive coordinator. He just says crazy things. He gets these personal fouls on the sidelines. We saw that before. I don't think that happens with Kirby as the boss over him.
Nah.
And I really think that would be good for him. But I see South Carolina getting a little bit better this season.
Yeah.
He's a good coach. What happened at Florida was kind of a bad situation. We're starting to see that with Muschamp. Then you see it with McElwain. And now with Mullen, Florida's not what people think it is. It's not this great
No, it's
college
not what it was, man.
It had Spurrier and then Urban Meyer, but they're back to where they've always been with everybody else. And there's a reason. I think it's not a USC, it's not a Alabama, it's not a Georgia. And they're starting to be in denial about that. Some people think they're delusional. I think Florida fans are in denial. Tennessee fans are delusional. I think Florida fan thinking they've never felt this from Georgia. You got to think, if you're a 30-year-old Florida fan, you've beat Georgia your whole life. It's just they've whooped us up all the time. And now the tide's turned. We're out recruiting them. We're beating them on the field by 3-4 scores. And that's what Florida is. That's what, Dan Mullen. That wasn't a first choice to go get.
They wanted us. They wanted Scott Frost.
Yeah, you got a guy with a losing record in the SEC. Yeah. You bring him into Florida, so you're not getting this elite coach that people thought Florida could get. People said it was a top 5 school.
The national media seems to like him a lot.
The national media, the other coaches do. I think the coaches poll that came out had Florida at 9, and I think they just look at last year and just
where they finished beating Michigan.
Yeah, I mean, they copy paste from last season. You knew the top 3. Everybody knew the top 3 was going to be Georgia, Clemson, and Bama.
Clemson.
It was going to be the top 3. Then after that, you look at last year's final rankings, especially in the top 10. It just looked like the coaches just plugged everybody in there.
Yeah.
And I see Clemson running the table. I don't see them having that upset like we've seen in the past. I think they've recruited at such a high level, and they're playing such bad teams. I mean, there's no other way to explain what the ACC
is real bad.
And it's horrible. When you look at Georgia Tech, it's a joke what's going on in Atlanta right now. And they're bringing in this new coach. So even if he is this great savior that's going to come in for Georgia Tech,
it's going to take a while.
He's got them little offensive linemen that are made for the option.
Yeah,
so it takes a while to get your system going. In the college football nowadays, these ADs don't give you a lot of time.
No.
You get a couple years, either you're going to cut it or you're not. And that's what I see.
Georgia Tech will be a little bit lenient though, because you see how long they put up with Paul Johnson. So.
But Paul Johnson beat Georgia.
Yeah, he
did.
It
wasn't every year. He beat them his first year.
Yeah.
Then about 4 or 5 years later, he won again, and that's enough to keep Georgia Tech happy.
Yeah, that's not the same Georgia anymore either though.
No, that the 08 game in the rain. Then we never seen the option from them before. We had it locked down in the first half.
We're so far and beyond from what we were. In 2015, it seems like 100 years ago to me. Like, it's not even close to the same
it's a
mentality, the same talent, the same team speed. Everything is way and above what it was.
And, that's where it starts, is the mentality of the team.
Yeah.
We talk how deep we are. We talk how much talent Kirby's brought in. But the biggest thing he's changed, to me, it seems like, is the mentality of the team.
Yeah.
They're starting to get that killer instinct. We see it more often in games where, we're beating a team by 14. We don't settle for that field goal towards the end. We finish the deal. We go up by 21. We get these late drives put together. We have the ball for 8 minutes and kill the clock. And we just end it on these games where it used to be we'd get ahead and lay back, then get ahead. Just kind of we're scared to put a foot on the throat and finish them off. So now saying that, I know people's going to have the comments about like what happened with Alabama, but that's a different monster. Mm-hmm. It used to be in the past we would struggle with anybody we get ahead of, and then we'd end up losing to a Vanderbilt, 4 out of 7 years. And that's how it happens with now. we got that killer instinct. We go into these smaller games.
Yeah, nothing can stop them from their ultimate goal.
Right. And, right now we know, Florida caught up with Georgia. Mm-hmm. The fans are worried about Georgia. The teams, all they want to talk about is Georgia, Georgia, Georgia. Yeah. Georgia ain't saying nothing. No. But I guarantee you go to Butts-Mehre, ain't nobody concerned with Florida. No. Ain't nobody concerned with Tennessee. We know what team we got to beat to achieve the goal we want. Yeah. And I think the team knows that just like the fans know that.
Yeah, and I think that's something that Kirby brought up that I think in a roundabout way is echoing what you just said, telling the players not to worry about all the little things,
Right.
Those things will take care of themselves. You know the goal in front of you, so you got to stay tunnel vision and look at that goal. You're not looking past the team, but you're saying, I'm looking at my goal and you're in my way, so now I'm looking through you.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And that's the way the attitude needs to be. And we know we got to get to Atlanta. So Vanderbilt, all the other SEC schools between the start of the season and that first weekend in December, that's just check marks.
Yep.
You got to check that box. All right, we got them out of the way. Who's coming on the next on the schedule? And it's cliche to say who's next. It's cliche to say them one game at a time. But I think for Georgia, their mentality is we're going to get back to Atlanta and we're going to close it out and we're going to beat Alabama. Now, closer we get to the season, I started thinking Alabama might have more problems on their hand with LSU. LSU's looking like they're going to be a good team, and we saw how good they could be last year in the middle of the season if they could keep that all season. But that game,
LSU's going to be sneaky good.
I think they could sneak up, and we've seen Alabama struggle with great defenses last year, and how they fix that is going to be interesting to see.
To me, predicated on, it's all predicated on Joe Burrow. If he can be dynamic, then they can beat Alabama, in my opinion.
I think they can too, because I think Alabama showed last year in the Georgia game, and then the second half against Oklahoma, and then, of course, the Clemson game, they're vulnerable. Yeah. They got weaknesses, and we didn't see that before. And I think Clemson's recruiting, along with our recruiting, is the reason you see that at Alabama, where they're not near as deep as they were, and it's starting to show later in the games. And when they start getting beat, they look like they just rolled over against Clemson. Mm-hmm. Well, that's all the time we got this week. Austin, you want to add anything? Talk about the YouTube channel.
Yeah, y'all come subscribe to the YouTube channel, Nothing Finer Pod. Like and subscribe, share it. We got a good little catalog building up on there now, so make sure y'all come check it out, man.
Yeah, we hit 100 subscribers. That's a big deal for us. We're just getting this thing started. We appreciate everybody subscribing. Y'all hit the bell, get notified when the next episode. If you're on Twitter, you can follow the show at Nothing Finer Pod. Facebook, you go facebook.com/nothingfinerpod. And our website, we got a website with all kind of shows from the very first show we ever did, nothingfinerpod.com. It's all the time we got this week. God bless. Go Dogs.